Hello and welcome to the ultimate guide to bleaching your hair. So I have done pretty much like everything to my hair. Back when it was long, it was like down to my ribs. I dyed it red and then I stripped that color out and then bleached it to like almost platinum blonde. I can send a picture maybe of what I looked like with blonde hair because I bleached it for Anime Expo for cosplay. So I was completely blonde, and then I went like a pastel kind of silvery purple, then I went dark purple, and then I cut my hair off and now it's blue. And in this time I did actually re-bleach like the ends since it had grown out so much, and the ends here, like the color had been chopped off, so I had to like re-bleach the ends to get it all this blue now. This like ombre, and now I'm kind of letting it grow out into a ombre, since this is my natural hair. I have very dark hair naturally. So yeah, and during that time, especially in my journey of going blonde, I did a lot of research and learned a lot about hair, and I'm here to put it in a video for an easy to find guide for you guys. So here we go. Step number 1, which you're kind of already doing, is do your research. So if you're watching this video to doing just that, good for you. But it's definitely, like, I definitely learned a lot that I didn't know about hair when I started bleaching. And you definitely need to have a plan kind of for it, and that includes like what you need to buy, how much time you need, kind of like even just how to go through the process of like putting on the bleach evenly so that you don't get like splotches or like uneven levels of lightness in your hair that you're gonna have to fix later, which is a pain in the butt. So make sure you kind of know what you're doing before you start, because it is also a pretty big time commitment. And I guess that kind of comes to rule number 2, which is, I guess it's not really a rule, it's more of a tip, but kind of know what you're getting into before like you start. You definitely don't want to start bleaching your hair and just kind of half-assing it, because then you're gonna just turn into one of those like bleaching disaster videos on YouTube there's a lot of those. Trust me, I watched a lot of those before I started bleaching my hair, and it almost terrified me to the point where I didn't bleach it, but I was committed and I was pretty confident that that wouldn't happen to me, and it didn't, so we're good there. But it's a long process, especially if you have dark hair like mine. Like, this is a level 10, probably like the darkest of the dark hair. It's not going to take like an hour out of your day. It's going to take probably several hours for your first like bleaching session, and then like weeks afterwards, depending on how light and how much hair, like how light you want to get, and like how much hair you have, and how damaged or healthy your hair might be. So just be aware that this is an arduous but rewarding journey. And then, so after you've come up with a plan and you've really committed to this, step number 3 is to buy all of the stuff that you need. Ignore this for now. We're going to focus on this part of the table. So first off, of course, is the ultimate item you need is bleach. I would recommend not going with like the box lighteners that you see in like drugstores. Those like bleach kits kind of, I feel are kind of unreliable in that you don't really know like what you're mixing and like how strong it is, or even how much product is really in the tube, and then that you end up having to kind of guess like how many boxes do I need versus just getting a tub of bleach. That's not an actual product, but I kind of wish it was just a tub of bleach. So the one that I used, and I only used because I was already kind of like familiar with it. There are definitely probably more professional or better bleaches out there that may not be as damaging to your hair. But this is the L'Oreal Technique High Performance Quick Blue powder bleach. You can find these at like Sally's Beauty or like pretty much any beauty supply store. But it's like a pretty standard one. This is also an option that I tried. This is the Ion Color Brilliance Bright White. This is a cream lightener, so it's actually not a powder, but it's still the same process. You mix it with your developers. But yeah, I recommend getting something that has like a lot of uses in it. Like this is probably good for 20 or so applications, and sort of like 20 or so scoops. But this is good to ensure that you can fully saturate your hair. You won't run out of product halfway through your bleaching process, and you can probably have some left over for when like your roots grow out and you want to like touch up, or say you lightened your hair to like a brown color and then later on you decide you want to go blonde. Hey, you've got the bleach to do it. So and then to go along with your bleach, you of course need developer. Developer is kind of like what activates the bleach, and it comes in different volumes, 10, 20, 30, 40. The higher the volume, the more lift you'll get in your hair, but also like the stronger it is, so the more damaging it is. 40 volume is kind of like it'll lift your hair the fastest, but it'll also damage it the most. So you really only want to use it if you have like super dark hair like mine, and you know like absolutely that your hair is healthy enough to take it, and you don't bleach it multiple times in a day. But that's a lot of things. We'll get to those in a second. But generally I use 30 volume. This is the L'Oreal Technique or your cream 20. This is the 20 volume. They have this in 10 and 30 and I think 40. And I've also used the one and only Argan Oil Hair Color Cream Developer. This is their 30 volume, and I found both of these are pretty good. And then when you're mixing it, you generally mix it in like a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 parts developer, 1 part bleach, and you kind of just mix it in your cup, and you got a little bowl and some brushes to mix it. Recommend a non-metal mixing bowl, because bleach I think does not react nicely with metal. And your 2 brushes. You would also probably want gloves, which I don't have with me, and a wide tooth comb, which I also don't have because I think I lost mine. But anyways, that's kind of all you need to start the bleaching process. Rule number 4. Well, I guess it'd be kind of like step number 4, is the bleaching process. So I'm not going to like demo how like actually bleaching my hair, because I'm kind of happy with where my hair is at right now, but I'll give you like kind of some tips and how-tos, I suppose. So first off, you're going to want to wear a t-shirt or like some clothes you don't care about. You can buy like, it's kind of like, what are those called? It's kind of like a tarp and you put over yourself so it kind of protects your skin and your clothing. But yeah, just wear like a t-shirt you don't care about and have like a towel handy. And then second, you're definitely going to want gloves, because you don't want to have this bleach kind of like stay in contact with your skin, because it's going to burn and it's going to be itchy and it's not pleasant. And then the way that you start bleaching your hair is, well, first you mix, well, you can do it kind of either way. You can section your hair first and then mix, or you mix and section your hair. But for sectioning your hair, you definitely don't want to like kind of glob the bleach on and just kind of use your fingers. You want to apply it in a very systematic way, so that way you make sure you get every strand and it's all even, and you don't get any spots that are like lighter or darker, and you don't get any like splotches anywhere, because that's not going to be pretty. So the way that I do it is I first put my hair in 4 sections, so divide it down the middle. I guess if I turn around and show you. So divide down the middle, and then I kind of cut across. So that way I kind of end up with 4 quadrants of my hair. I think this is cute. You can also kind of use a clip to like clip up the parts of your hair that you're not going to be bleaching yet. I generally start from the top and then work my way to the bottom. But it's really just a matter of preference on what hair like you're kind of most confident in first. Yeah, you can do it either way. So, but yeah, definitely section your hair out so you have, and just work in one section at a time. And so then once you've mixed your bleach, again, 2 parts developer, 1 part bleach. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Let me check actually. Which may just be like, yes, okay, that's correct. Well, 2 parts or 1.5 parts depending, but I usually go with 2. So then once you've mixed that, it should look you should mix it until it's smooth, and it should look very, should look kind of like pudding consistency, and that's kind of how you know that's done. So then once you start bleaching your hair, what you want to do is you can take kind of like the end of your brush or like the end of your comb. This tiny brush has like a better point to it. Say I'm working in this section here, you want to again section that part into very kind of thin strands. So I'm going to take like first cut here, and you can, it's hard to do this in my camera instead of a mirror. That's actually probably too thick. That's probably like 2 or 3 strands. It's hard to see, I'm sorry. So you want to take very kind of thin strands like this, and then when you're bleaching your hair, sorry, this is like, I'm gonna give this its own rule, number 5, is you never ever start bleaching from your roots. You always apply the product to the ends up to the mid shaft first, leaving kind of a space for your roots after. The reason why is heat actually will kind of accelerate the bleach, and it'll help make it like work faster. That's why in salons you kind of see them, they're under like these heat lamps. It's to kind of accelerate the process. So you will end up with something called hot roots, which is the hair that's like right by your scalp. Your roots are like totally platinum blonde, while the rest of your hair is like a dark yellow, and it's not pretty. Don't do it. So definitely the way you do it, and wear gloves, you apply the bleach, kind of painting it on to the strands, all the way up. Not all the way up. I usually leave about like 1.5 inches or so from my scalp, just because I'm paranoid about the hot roots. And then once it's fully saturated, your hair should look like it's wet, basically, like you just came out of a swimming pool. Otherwise, you don't have enough product on it. And then once it's in, you flip it over. Make sure you've gotten like the back side of the strand too, because it's very important that you get both sides of your hair. It's because hair is not just one strand. You don't just paint one side and it doesn't fully cover all of it. So once, again, leaving up about 1.5 inches or so from your scalp, and then once this is saturated, you kind of leave it, and then you can pull the next piece. And then again, you paint it, flip it over, paint it, and you just kind of keep doing this. And you just keep painting and painting until you've finished with this section. And then continue the process with all the other sections. Tip number, I think this is 6 now, is if you're doing this by yourself, and like you don't have anyone to help you with like the back of your head, make sure you can see the back of your head. That sounds kind of silly to say, but it's not enough, especially if you use short hair, to just kind of like pull your hair like this and like try to properly apply the bleach, because then it's going to turn splotchy. You're gonna miss some of the parts where you've pulled further and didn't quite reach all the way to like your head. And it's much easier if you have a way of like applying and viewing the back of your head. So the way that I do it is I usually have like my bathroom mirror, and then I'll rig like a mirror behind me. It's kind of like angled down, so that way I can turn around and like look in the mirror and like I'm able to see the back of my head. It's a little bit awkward. It takes some like fine tuning to get it to work well, but once you do, it's a lot easier to apply the bleach evenly and make sure all of your sections are nice and even, and then all of your hair is saturated. So once you've kind of gone through and all of the bleach is applied, minus like your roots, you want to let it develop for a little bit to get lighter, because yes, obviously you want your hair to get lighter, but you kind of want to wait for it, like give it a head start, basically. So maybe like 30 minutes or so, and then you can start applying the bleach on the roots all over. And then you're pretty much good. Tip number, I think I'm up to 7 now, is once you've finished applying the bleach all over your head, wrap your hair in like a shower cap or something like that, and that kind of helps to like keep the heat in and helps the ends kind of incubate a little bit better using like the heat from your scalp. So it'll be like an all over kind of warm. Some people will use like foils, or like will use a hair dryer on those foils. I tend to avoid that, just because I don't want it to inadvertently like damage my hair even further, because like heat, bleach, it's all not good for your hair. And so then once your time is up, well, I don't really go so much by time as much by the level of lift. So tip number 8 is, once the bleach stops feeling wet, like at some point it's going to kind of turn kind of dry and like crumbly on your hair, it's not going to work any further after that. There is like a double process where you like apply like more bleach on top of like the bleach that's starting to dry to like help it keep processing. But to keep your hair as healthy as possible, I'd recommend washing it out and then if you need to go lighter, doing that in another session several weeks after this one. And one thing that I didn't mention, which would be, I guess, number 8, is when your hair is processing, you kind of want to kind of strand check, like keep an eye on it and kind of check to make sure like the hair, like how far the hair is lightening as you're processing. So you can take a strand and kind of like check, like kind of wash out that bleach and just check like what level it's at before you decide it's done and wash out the hair. But if the bleach is dried already, then there's no real point in checking. You can just wash all of it out. Okay. And then, so this is, there are a couple different directions you can go after this. So number, I think 8, no, that was just 8. So number 9 is kind of how to kind of tone your hair, or kind of get the brassiness out if you're not happy with where the lift is at. There are several different ways of like toning your hair. If you're kind of just in like the middle, you're not quite at the level of lift that you want yet. I don't recommend like fully toning your hair, depending on how long you're gonna wait, I guess, and how orange or yellow it is. But because toning your hair, it does damage it. In my experience, toning has actually been like more painful than bleaching. Some people complain of like your scalp burning or whatever when bleaching. I've never had that, but when I've toned, it's definitely gotten like pretty prickly and like I've had a little bit of a burning sensation. So I didn't enjoy it. Maybe had it on too long. But you can tone your hair temporarily, but then I feel like you need to kind of bleach wash it out before you bleach your hair again, and then that's just a lot more. But if you are going to tone your hair, you can get little bottles of toner. These are the Wella permanent liquid hair toners. This is in T28. I have one in like T35 and like T18. I think is like the classic like icy silver platinum color that a lot of people are looking for. But make sure you get a toner that is appropriate for the level that your hair is at. If your hair is like orange, meaning like a level 6, I think is what it is, but basically it's not really blonde yet, a very silver toner that's meant for level 10, like super light blonde, is not going to make your hair super light blonde. It's actually probably going to do nothing to cancel out the orange. So if you have darker hair, you're going to want like a darker toner. So that's just one thing to be aware of. And then also to kind of combat the brassiness, which is like that, I guess I should explain, it's like that like bright orange or yellow kind of undertone that happens when you kind of like strip your hair of its natural color. It's like the underlying color. People also use colored shampoos. You'll hear like everyone uses like purple shampoo. This is the Shimmer Lights shampoo, blonde and silver. It's a very pretty purple color. But again, if your hair is not at the yellow stage yet, purple shampoo is not going to do anything for you. If your hair is orange, purple does not cancel out orange, so it's really not going to do a lot. If you have orange hair, you want blue shampoo, which is actually a thing, but very less known. This is the Joico Color Balance Blue Shampoo, and that will help to eliminate the orange in your hair. If you are at yellow, go for the purple shampoo. But personally, I say personally a lot, don't I? In my experience, the blue and purple shampoos don't do a whole lot with kind of toning your hair. They may take like a little bit of the brassiness out, but I remember still having some left in my hair after using those. What I prefer is kind of mixing some color, some like blue or purple, in with my conditioner and kind of letting it condition, and that kind of helps to tone down the brassiness. Step, tip, rule, whatever, number 10 is this is kind of for if you've already bleached your hair once and your hair isn't as light as you would like it. What you want to do is you definitely want to wait between bleaching your hair again. Don't bleach your hair like 3 times in a day. Your hair is going to fall off your head. I waited about a week, I think. Some people recommend like as much time as possible because bleaching damages your hair like no other. But once you have lightened your hair to the desired color and you've toned it or dyed it to whatever blonde or crazy color you want, now it's kind of the hair care tips. So number 11 is how to take care of your hair after you've nuked it. That was not a successful hair flip. So I do have a few products that I've used that I've liked and have worked for me. So let me move the shampoos out of here. But let's see. So the first thing is condition. After you've bleached your hair, you honestly want to try and avoid shampooing it as much as possible. Particularly like any kind of clarifying shampoo is going to be pretty harsh because your hair is so weak. And because what shampoo does is it actually takes like your hair follicles and it kind of like opens it up to like clean out all of the dirt and oil that's gathered. And your hair after bleaching is already very porous, meaning like the follicle is already opened. The hair shaft the hair shaft is already opened quite a bit. You don't want shampoo to keep like opening it and just like increasing its porosity, because then your hair will have like no integrity left. So what I like to do is I like to do conditioner washes. You can wash your hair with just conditioner. It doesn't really help to like strip your hair of like all of like the buildup, but it's when your hair is super damaged, that's kind of okay. So I will just wash my hair with conditioner. Some of the ones that I really like are the Garnier Whole Blends. This one is the Ginger Recovery. I've also used like the Honey Mask, and those are very good. But what your hair is also missing is protein. So I think we'll call it 12, is that you want to balance the amount, the levels of protein and moisture in your hair. So when your hair after bleaching is very porous and it's lost a lot of like its protein and like structure. So you want to put that back in your hair so that it doesn't feel so mushy. If you bleach your hair and it feels like, and it's wet and it feels very like mushy and like you can like stretch it, it means there's not enough protein or like the bonds in your hair are broken. So a couple of different products to use are, I don't have it here, but like the Afuji 2-step protein recovery treatment, I think it's called. This one is the L'Oreal L5 Total Repair Extreme Emergency Recovery Mask. There's also like an OGX like Bond or like a vegetable protein. It's the white bottle conditioner that I really like that helped. And that'll kind of help to improve the integrity of your hair so that it doesn't look so like ramen noodly. But you do have to be careful to not kind of overload your hair with protein. I did that when I first bleached my hair because I was like so scared it was gonna fall off my head. But it actually ended up like, after washing it, it actually ended up being like crunchy, and that was because there was like too much protein buildup. So I learned that, and I was able to fix it by not using so much of the protein conditioners and going back to moisturizing. So if your hair is like super dry and it just like breaks, like it's super brittle, then you need to put more moisture in your hair. And again, conditioners. So this is the Aussie 3-Minute Miracle Moist conditioner. This one I really like. This one, it's like technically you only need 3 minutes, so you put it in your hair, you brush it out, and it feels like so smooth and silky. See if this is like the main one that I really like. There are a few, like, can't think of any off the top of my head. But apart from just conditioning your hair, leave-in treatments are also really effective. This one is the generic leave-in treatment with keratin. So this is like a protein one. You can also choose one that's more for moisture, if that's more your speed. And then while my hair was like really damaged, I would put oils in my hair too. So I have 2 oils here. This one actually really surprised me. If you only need like a little bit, like maybe like 1 or 2 sprays, otherwise your hair gets like almost too oily, and it's like there's like excess oil that sits in your hair and it's kind of gross. But if you just use a little bit, this is the Shea Moisture Ongongo and Hemp Seed Oils High Porosity Moisture Correct Finishing Elixir. Why do all of these products have enormous long names? But this is what it looks like. And I actually really like this for when my hair was like just bleached and it was still damaged. It has hair will tend to have that like wispy kind of like frizzy look to it when it's super damaged or dry. But when I put this in my hair, it actually really helped to like smooth it out and make it like kind of look like hair again. So I really liked this. And then this is the OGX Fade Defying Orchid Oil. It's a color protect oil with UVA and UVB sun filters. So this kind of helps to protect color treated hair. That's what it looks like. And this I would spray on before like blow drying my hair. Tip number 13 is that you don't want to use any kind of heat or like curlers or hair straighteners or even blow drying your hair after you've bleached it, because heat, not good, burn off your hair, etc. But for me, when my hair was really bleached, it takes really long to dry. So I had really long hair and I needed to dry, so I would have to blow dry it. So I would use both a heat protectant spray and this, and then blow dry my hair. And this actually also helps out kind of to like smooth out your hair and make it less frizzy. Tip number 14 is about hair porosity. So I just went on a whole big long spiel about adding protein and like moisture back into your hair. And that kind of has to deal with your hair's like structure. When it's really porous, it's like the hair shaft is like open, and like, so that's how a lot of like products and like particles can get inside, and that's actually how hair color attaches. So oddly enough, like the more damaged your hair, the more your hair color will stick. But you have to make sure that you kind of close back up the hair shaft so that it doesn't all just wash out. But just be aware that when your hair is very porous and very porous, it's kind of looking for any like moisture it can hold onto because it's damaged. So when you wash your hair, the moisture, the water will cling to the hair inside of like the open parts of the hair shaft. So it will take longer to dry. That's why your natural hair will actually like dry faster than your bleached, damaged hair. So yeah, if you are looking to kind of color your hair afterwards, definitely try to kind of condition your hair at the same time. A lot of hair dyes nowadays are like also conditioners, or like they are conditioners but with color, like masks. Those are good to kind of like deposit the color into your very porous hair and then kind of close it up again so the color doesn't all just wash out. And let's see, it's 14. Actually, one more thing I probably should have mentioned, 15, is before bleaching, you actually want to bleach your hair like when it's dirty. Like, don't wash your hair before bleaching, because your natural hair oil will actually help kind of protect the hair a little bit more. Some people will put oil in their hair before bleaching, like coconut oil or something. I've tried it, didn't really have any like definitive results. Some people claim that it kind of impedes the bleach from working. Some people claim that it protects their hair. So that could be something to try. So when you're bleaching your hair, you want your hair dirty and oily. But when you're coloring your hair, on the other hand, you generally want your hair to be clean, but you don't want it to have a whole lot of like product buildup. So you don't want to have like just conditioned your hair and then try to color it with something, because the color won't penetrate the hair shaft as well, since you've closed it up with that conditioner. And that being said, that is all of my tips and tricks and rules and steps for bleaching and I guess coloring your hair. So I hope this was helpful. Keep in mind that I'm not a stylist, I'm not a professional, and everyone's hair is different, so you've got to find the products and like the methods that work for you. So, but good luck in your journey. Hope everything goes well, and have fun being blonde or purple or red or whatever you want. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye!